So welcome back everyone to Off the Wire. Again, my name is Tanner. I'm joined by Anthony. We got a great episode for you tonight. I think it's going to be kind of interesting. We've got another one of our list together. But before we get into that, I just Anthony, we talked a little bit before the episode, but I was kind of thinking the year is kind of getting away from us. Seems like Christmas is here again, and I can't really believe it. But as we get kind of toward the end of the year, it seems like it's that time of year where we're trying to kind of scramble to get things done. Is that how it is at your place right now?
It's, total chaos, I would say right now. Outside of, Thanksgiving week, Thanksgiving week, I don't like to do this, but that's one of those days where I'm like, "This is a good week to take it easy and not do anything major and not break anything." Unlike Christmas, I really don't want anyone doing anything major unless we're trying to tidy something up, but we've got, several projects going on top of, we're just wrapped up budget. We're trying to focus on next year, like what quarter are we gonna do this project? What quarter are we gonna do that project?
Yeah, I'm totally agree with you. I think this is the time of year we're always looking at budgets as far as like, are we going to get what we thought we were going to spend done? Was there any money we need to carry over into the next year? Just like you said, we're always focusing on kind of next year's projects, right? And the initiatives. One thing that we really do, I'm kind of looking forward to. We kind of started a tradition about 4 years ago where in January, we kind of do a year in review kind of meeting just with our IT. Try to do it right at the beginning before people get so busy into new projects. And we try to remember what we do because I feel like sometimes we don't take enough time to just get a feel for what we have accomplished. And then we look at the future. And we were kind of talking as we were planning this episode, and something I thought was interesting to us, and I think it's going to be interesting to our listeners, is rolling out new things. We are getting into the new year, or getting close. With the new year, there's new budgets. And with those new budgets, it's new projects. And we have talked a lot, not necessarily as part of the show, but we talk a lot after the show, before the show, about kind of ways that projects fail. And so that's actually what we're going to discuss tonight. We both got like a top five list of reasons that projects fail. And we're going to kind of go through that list and talk about why we selected that thing and then what you can do to make sure that you don't fall into that pitfall. But before we get into those lists, Anthony, anything you want to kind of just generally talk about software projects? And I know this is kind of a maybe not pet peeve, but something that's like near and dear to your heart is why a lot of companies they have failures whenever they roll out new software.
Yeah, though obviously just a project failing as it gets rolled out is a big deal, but the thing that bothers me the most is how it impacts the folks in my department. There is nothing more demoralizing to my folks and me to work hard on a project and then that project or product not get used, and just find out that it was just sitting there for 6 months, a year later, and no
Mm-hmm.
one's used it after all the hard work and stuff we've done on our side. So I really try to mitigate that the best I can. But I will say this: if you're pushing the envelope, you're going to have a failed project here and there.
No, I agree with that statement. You do have to, they always say if you never fail, you're not taking enough risk. I do kind of believe in that. But there is kind of that balance, that seesaw of like what is too much risk, what is, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as part of our list. But as you were talking, I kind of thought of an example that happened to me recently, and it was, I don't know if you ever have this. You ever have a time where it's like something happens to you, and you're like, that was what I needed to hear. So I was actually in a home improvement store when I was actually buying a piece of PVC pipe. I found a piece that was kind of mangled, and I knew that wouldn't be very good for a contractor, so I thought I could probably get a little bit of a discount since I only needed about two-thirds of it anyway. So as I was going to the register, I went in to ask, and they were really nice. They gave me a discount. They were getting ready to ring me up, and there were two ladies at the register, and the point of sale terminal was just giving them fits. They were having to reboot it. They were apologizing, and I said, "Oh, don't worry about this. I kind of work on the other side, right?" And they were talking, and I heard them talking as it was rebooting. They were talking about how they had a bunch of updates that were pushed, and there was a lot of stuff wrong with them, and it was causing them issues. And to your point, like you talked about the impact to the IT employees, but there's also an impact when projects don't go well to the people that are frontline. And I got to thinking about that. It was kind of what I needed to hear because I think a lot of times we push out things, we want to push the envelope. We want new things, new technology to really advance where we're going. But there is someone out there that has to rely on that technology, and they're usually standing face to face with someone. And if it's slow or not working correctly or whatever, they're the ones bearing the brunt of that. Now, luckily, I was very polite. I luckily had plenty of time and I was very patient, but I can guarantee that's not everybody. But I told the ladies when they finally, I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, we've got it done, and we'll check you out." And I said, this is what I needed to hear today, because most of the time I'm the one like, and our team is the one pushing out things. And it was nice for me to see the impact from the other side. I'm sure you have stories similar to that as well, but it kind of happened. It was about a month ago, and it was one of those things where I was like, I don't think it was just a coincidence, if that makes sense. All right, Anthony, you ready to jump into the list?
I am ready.
As I mentioned, it's near and dear to our hearts. We don't want to see projects fail. We don't want to see your projects fail. We know we have some of these things we need to work on too, so we're going to all try to improve together. But these are our top 5 ways that a project rollout can fail. A technology project doesn't necessarily have to be a brand new piece of software. It could be an update to an existing piece, or maybe just an extra feature or module or something like that. So, with no further ado, we're going to go 5 to 1. So, our we'll say that the last is the one we see as the most important. Anthony, I'm just going to let you kick us off. So, you want to give everybody your number 5 answer?
My number 5 is the solution or the product is too complicated. That's something where maybe it's where I was in the Marines and we practiced the KISS method, the keep it simple, stupid for everything. But that is tried and true in my brain, and that's really just how I. It's a philosophy of life with everything I do, and whether it's scope creep that makes things complicated, or sometimes it's just a solution that's super complicated up front. That's something that it definitely causes a lot of pitfalls and solutions to fail flat on their face.
In your mind, what would be the best, like, is there an easy way to, I mean, other than just keep it simple, which, I mean, is, I think, easy to say, maybe tough to do? Is there something that, like, helps you as you're researching projects or as you're rolling them out to make sure that you're making them simple as you can?
I think just using kind of the 80-20 rule, like people try to look at every nuance and, they'll tailor the solution to every nuance. And then if you keep doing that and keep doing that, you're going to overcomplicate the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it depends on what you're deploying because some things are just kind of canned and you can't really tweak them. But, we've been doing a lot of building our own in house solutions and we really preach, we want to keep this a simple process, not overcomplicate it. And that's easy to do. It really is.
Mm-hmm. We do a little dev work on our team as well, and one of the things there's like and someone's gonna completely just gore me for this, but there's like a wheel of software development of like all the mistakes you can make, and one of them is over delivering, and that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so number 5 for me is and this could really be a little even more than just deployment or some rollout pitfalls. It could be, I think, just IT department pitfalls, but it's not building rapport or having empathy for the users. So what I mean really by this is basically not taking the time to actually care about the people that you're rolling software out to. This probably ties into a lot of the things we're going to talk about a little bit, but just basically, I'll just kind of do the KISS method on this, Anthony, to reference what you said. But basically, what it means is if you don't care about the users, you're not going to have their best interests at heart. If you don't have their best interests at heart, then you're going to make a lot of mistakes as you roll out stuff because you're not doing it for them. Also, I think building rapport is a two-way street. You want people to, you want to be friendly with the different departments. You want them to see you as a partner, a friend, and not as just a fellow employee. I always tell people, if we're just employees, we're going to do the minimum of what we need to do. If someone is your friend, you're always going to go well above and beyond to help them and to make things work and to support them no matter what. So that's the kind of like relationship we need to have with users so that one, they're going to be in our corner when we roll out stuff, but two, we're going to be in their corner.
We recently did the interview with Glenn, and he talked about basically practicing and trying to, be the focus on having empathy. And that, honestly, before that conversation with him, if you would have asked me, I might have said that's something you can't really work at. But he was definitely right. You can work at empathy, and I do. And I'm not saying my folks need it, but I think it's a lot of times we get focused on we just need to protect the network, we need to patch it, we need to do this, we need to do that. But it's nice to remind myself and the folks I work with that we're there basically to support every other department and make them more efficient and better at their job, also while doing it securely. But if we're not making the other departments better, there really isn't a point in us existing.
That's perfect. Yeah, I totally agree. All right. So number 4, Anthony, what's your number 4 on your list?
Well, I'm hoping you got the solution to this, but basically, you do a project and you do 95% of the work, and then it kind of just that's it. It's complete, and it doesn't really get that last percent that really makes it go from mediocre to a great product. And it's sometimes like you just kind of you got it wrapped up, and you're waiting for feedback, and you jump onto the next solution, and you don't go back or you don't do the final things. Like sometimes you just don't even do training on a product, or you don't have good documentation, or you just don't go back and revisit it and ask for more feedback after rolling it out. It's a huge one for us.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a solution, but that is something we do struggle with. For us, I think, and I consider this part of that 5% that's not getting done, is optimizing the product.
Yeah,
We will a lot of times roll out a product and we'll even do the training maybe and kind of it'll go pretty well, but then we just assume that like that's the only time we need to talk about that product and it's just part of the fold now when we know in reality, look at Microsoft products, look at any product, there's going to be new features and new things that happen with them and you've got to optimize things as you go to be sure did you get everything that you could out of that product? Did you wring every bit of productivity? And then as they add things to it, are you continuing to wring out the best in that? Oh gosh, I mean, solution wise, that's tough. I think sometimes we have a tendency to just do a project and then move too quickly on. So I would say maybe at least for the documentation and kind of the loose end tie up, something we are trying to do is to try to budget more free time between projects. Not free time like we're
yeah,
not doing anything, but
yeah.
just as well, it's maybe free time's not the right word. I would call it buffer time. We're trying to budget more buffer time between when a project's complete and when the next project starts.
One thing I think it's just dumb luck on my part, is, but I think you could work towards it, is as we hire people, you don't wanna hire people like, I am kinda ADHD and all over the place. I'm good at starting, I'm good at doing the meat of it, but I'm not good at finishing it. But we have people in our department that actually are very strong at it. And honestly, we're kinda like yin and yang with some of these people. There's 2 guys I can think of specifically. When we don't work together well because I'm ready to jump out of the gate running, and these 2 folks are very methodical and wanna think things through. I'm not saying I don't think things through, but they do it at a much higher level and longer level than I do, and it's kinda like oil and water when we try to work together on a thing. And we still work together on things, but it is a struggle just because we're kind of like polar opposites. So I think as you build your team, assuming you got more than just yourself, try to focus on people that are good at the things that you're not good at.
Yeah, a complementary team is very helpful. That honestly could probably help every one of these that we're talking about. Because if you're weak in an area and you can strengthen it through a hire or through training someone or through relying on another department, I'll talk about that maybe on one of the ones you have on your list later. All right, number 4 on my list, not enough communication or not enough communication types or confusion in communication. So this is one we talked about marketing IT last episode. I think this goes along with it. Marketers and people that deal with the public relations, social media folks, they're very good at crafting a message, and we're not very good at that. And AI can help a little bit, but overall, if you have some of those people at your organization, work with them to help you. I mean, because I don't think it's our strong suit, right? I mean, as we're learning and as we're getting better in that, help use those tools and people to your advantage. But I think the thing we struggle with most within my organization is not enough communication or not enough types of communication. So we're IT people, right? You send us an email, You give us the instructions in an email, we're going to be fine with it. You send us the instructions over Teams, we're going to be fine with it. Doesn't matter how you send them one time, we're going to be able to go back, find it. Oh, yeah, I tag that, I flag that message. I know exactly what those instructions are. That is not the norm. And people kind of learn and understand things in different ways. So, communicating via email, communicating through the person's supervisor, communicating through announcement boards that you have, maybe sending a text, maybe even doing a phone call or going to a safety meeting and kind of communicating that way. I have a about to retire executive in our HR group, and she always used to say that to communicate things effectively, you need to communicate it 7 times in 7 different ways. So that's something that we are trying to get better at. And I would say also don't think of it as 7 times, 7 different ways, one instance, right? It might be one way, a couple days later, another way, a couple days later, another way, those kinds of things. But yeah, for us, and really to fix that, I think involve those that are good in it or create yourself a communication plan for projects. And then that way you'll have something to follow, just like an incident response plan or disaster recovery plan or anything like that.
Yeah, the only thing I'd really just add, if you're debating whether you need to communicate it, like, that should answer your question right there. If it's in your mind, then just go ahead and do it because, if you're reaching out to 10 people or the whole company, there's gonna be someone that's gonna wanna hear it in a different method or a different way. So just go ahead and do that. Do them and yourself a favor.
Yeah. And one thing I didn't mention, but I also agree, is cast a wider net than you think. A lot of times we think we're going to be bothering someone by communicating with something with maybe they didn't need directly. What I have found is people like to be involved, even if they're not involved. They feel special about that, and they should. I mean, don't we feel special? Like if someone tags us on an email, CCs us on an email, even if it's not something directly, but it's just something for us to be in the know about, it's because they think we should be in the know about it. It kind of gives us an air of like, hey, I'm one of the people that needs to be in the know about this. Like that makes me special or something like that. So, all right, Anthony, before we take a little break, what is your number 3 on your list of ways where projects can go awry, or excuse me, software rollouts can go awry?
So number 3 for me is relying on vendors or just other people you're working with to train your employees or also like QA the product from your perspective. A lot of times vendors will do the training, but a lot of times that training doesn't line up with how your people learn, or it's so generic because they've got all these different companies that they're rolling this product out that it's really not just good for your folks. And sometimes you need to get, maybe your department needs to do the training, or maybe you need to get the subject matter expert at your company to do the training. Work with someone
Mm,
that uses it and actually has good knowledge of the product and have them do it. Because a lot of times we're getting training from these vendors and it's really not worth a whole lot just because it's so generic.
yeah, the one thing I would add there, Anthony, is, and I'm not, I guess, trying to contradict what you said, but I would say I would add and find someone who knows the product well and also is a good trainer. Because just because you're an expert in the product doesn't mean you can tell somebody else about it. Sometimes experts are very good at people asking them a question and them telling them an answer, but they're not very good at passing on their knowledge so that person can work independently.
Yeah. Actually, just one thing to touch on, there's a company, if you're in the co-op world, Meridian, but we met our CIS trainer and, this is a new solution we're rolling out and he is absolutely perfect for our co-op because he calls people out by name, not like calling them out, but he'll, if someone's being quiet in the session, like he will call on their name and ask specifically for their feedback. Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
completely right. Just because you know the product does not mean you're a good trainer. Like that's its own specialty. And some people, they're just complete wizards at training people.
Yeah, they just have there's a thing, and I think teachers in general is just there are people who are really good at it, and when you see it, you know, and it's really hard to describe in words, but it's apparent whenever you're in the presence of it. All right, my number 3 is too slow of response time to the first issues and no drip campaign. So I'll kind of tackle those independently. Whenever you're going to have issues when you roll out a new product, any type of product, when you have issues to a product that is brand new, you need to be all over that. I mean, you need to be That needs to be top priority. You need to be probably letting some of the other things that are long time projects drop down a little bit on priority. And you need to be kind of taking on those things immediately. Because, like you mentioned earlier, Anthony, if people have frustration when the product first rolls out, that's disaster waiting to happen. So that's one thing. The other, no drip campaign, and the listeners may or may not be aware of what a drip campaign is, but they've all experienced it. A drip campaign is basically, let's say you sign up for a website, right? Or you purchase a product on a website, right? Well, first they'll give you that confirmation email. Then a couple weeks later, they might ask you to do a review. Then a couple weeks after that, they might ask you if you're having any trouble with your product. Then maybe 3 or 4 weeks after that, they might send you, hey, there's a accessory that goes with your product that you might want to look at. Then maybe, a few months after that, they talk about a sale that's coming up, et cetera, et cetera. That is a drip campaign. It's basically it's an intentional, methodical drip of information. And that's what you need to be doing as well whenever you're rolling out projects. We're trying to work on this. We're not as good at it. But you want to blast all the information, but that can't be the only time you do it. You need to also be asking for feedback, going in and checking up on people, saying, how are things going above and beyond, trying to gather input on anything and kind of rolling that back into first issues. If you do have issues, immediately jumping on it, but making sure that you're following up with people and making sure that experience is good, not 2 days after the thing and 1 week later, but even 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 6 months later, probably really, I think all the way up to like maybe a year. And then, at that point, you can kind of maybe feel that it's part of the day to day and maybe doesn't necessarily need the extra attention. All right, Anthony, we've made it through three of the five of each of our lists. So before we move on, take a quick break here. To those that are listening, either on through the podcast apps or on video, one, we just want to say we really appreciate you. It's really nice to hear from folks that are listening to our podcast and getting something out of it, and we're able to make a difference. And that's why we really want to do this, is to make a difference, to try to share knowledge, to try to get knowledge from you. As people reach out to us, can ask us questions too. So one, we just really appreciate you listening. We want to grow the podcast, and really, it's not just our podcast; it's your podcast too. So we ask you to kind of help us, on this journey as we try to grow the podcast by sharing it, reaching out to those people who listen to podcasts, maybe haven't heard of us, and just giving them a good episode. We have a pretty good amount of episodes at this point. I know there's probably one that's your favorite that you could share with them. So help, enlarge our Off the Wire family and share with more people the podcast. So if you do that, we will continue to promise to try to make great content. And if you provide us feedback, we're going to do our best to cover the things that you want to hear. All right, Anthony, back to it. We're almost to the drum roll section of the episode, but number two on Anthony's list, I'm really dying to hear what you got.
All right, so number 2 for me is weak testing and weak QA. They kinda go together. So the issue with that, I mean, obviously because, a product that doesn't work right or has issues is, especially when you're rolling something out, this can definitely cause something to fail. You roll some tool out or solution out and it just doesn't work. People, when things don't work, they can be just scarred for years by that. And it sounds silly, but it just happens. You got a product that doesn't work, and forever it'll be known as just a bad product. You can get it working completely fine. And we've had that happen. We had some cradle points in the trucks, and they had US Cellular to basically connect back into our network. And this was kind of rolled out before I got there, but sometime after getting there, we found out that they didn't have our internal DNS server. So basically, like, they could go to the public internet and get to that, but they couldn't get at anything on our network. But with this, we found that out. We fixed the solution, and years later, no one would use those cradle points in the trucks. They would turn off the Wi-Fi in a truck and use the cellular in their iPad. And
Mm-hmm.
today, we're actually eliminating all that. We're in the middle of eliminating all of those cradle points in the truck because no matter what we do, everyone says their iPad works better. So, anyways, that's just an example of how you get something that isn't working right, and you can never change their tune on that product.
That's a tough one, and it's tough on us, I guess, as IT professionals, because we know sometimes you have to test things, And it's tough to test everything as well and as thoroughly as the users will test something. So I don't know how you eliminate that completely, but I would say maybe find the most understanding users. And if there's going to be problems, try to have them help you through the earliest stage. They're pretty understanding before you kind of do a general release. I don't know. We kind of struggle with this too. And I agree with you. The scars can run deep.
As far as solutions, I mean, we're not perfect, but we have gotten better. And the ways that we've gotten better is, and sometimes this isn't feasible, but if you can do a pilot or a proof of concept, do that.
Mm-hmm.
100% do that. And then the other thing, and this doesn't have to be complicated, use the whole KISS method, is so as we have certain systems like our crown jewels that you talk about, Tanner,
Mm-hmm.
we have basically a spreadsheet that has all the things to test as we do that. So if you're rolling out a solution, just create a little spreadsheet saying, once we roll this out, we need to test these three things, to kind of go through it. And then just build upon that as you go through. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can just be a little Word doc or whatever you're using for documentation. Just come up with a little list of things. And because you're going to, right off the top of your head, you may think of five things, but as you're going through and deploying the solution, you're going to come up with more things that you need to test, work out. So just create a simple list. That'll help you quite a bit.
That makes sense. All right, number four for me. And this is kind of it's a it is software related, but it could apply to more than just software. But trying to go too fast or trying to do too much. I know we people ask me all the time, like, why do you love change so much? And honestly, I don't know that I have a word for why, but I do enjoy it. I like new things. I like to see the progression of things, the iterative nature of software development, and how things get better over time, and new technologies come out, and it really improves things. And we all got to remember that that's not everybody. And in fact, I would not even say it's the majority. I would say we're probably in the minority of that. There's probably way more people who don't want things to change all the time. And I think if we're not careful, we can we can cut against the general users by giving in, I guess, to our inner impulses as far as that goes, and just pushing things out way too fast. So be a little more methodical. The too much thing is also I think that's almost as bad or maybe worse. Is when I think of too fast, I think of basically we do a project, then we go right into another project. But I think a lot of times we try to do 100% of something all at once, like too much at one time. It's not necessarily too fast, but it's we get a new piece of software, like we'll say a mobile field software, right? And it does mapping and it does service orders and it does inspections and it does staking. And we try to roll all of those things out at the same time instead of, rolling out mapping, then waiting a while, then rolling out the service orders, then rolling out inspections later on. So it is kind of too fast, but it's too much at once. I mean, really, the only solution to that is to slow down, and lessen things. And I think my number one on my list is also going to help with this, but I won't try to steal any thunder there. But ultimately, we just got to know that every person is not as open to change and as willing to have that change as we are.
Yeah, I do think it can overwhelm folks. If you like you said, if you just roll out all those solutions at once, it's better to kind of piecemeal them. It's slower and it's more inefficient, but it's kind of like that drip campaign. Kind of related to that, you got to give them a drip of change at a time. If you open the floodgates, you're going to drown them.
Yeah. Well, and to your earlier point, though, Anthony, if you go too fast and someone stops using it, then what good was it anyway? What was the efficiency gained?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I got to remember and what we all need to remember. So, all right, drum roll. I'm I'm on pins and needles over here, Anthony. What's your number one?
All right. So I don't think this will be a big surprise if you've listened to the podcast regularly, but not including user input up front. You're rolling out a product and you just roll it out with no user input. Like that is not how you get buy-in. That is not how you get consensus. And also, it can go the other way where the users have all authority and really don't listen to IT. But I think the bigger side is just not having the feedback. If you really want a successful product. I know we can't do this with everything we do, but if you have a big or major product, you need to include the end users up front and have them part of the conversation. And I would even say, if you got someone that might be more adversarial to that solution being rolled out, have them included. Get their point of perspective. If you get them included, they're going to be more likely to be supporting the product as you roll it out. Now, on the flip side, you can have where someone comes up with a great idea and they don't know the ins and outs of technology, and sometimes you got to save them from themselves and give them input and feedback on why that solution, yeah, it's a great idea, but let's do it this way instead of the solution that you're talking about, or this product would be better to solve that than what you were thinking. So I think it can go both ways. The best approach is to have a blended approach from IT and the end users.
Yeah, Anthony, you hit the nail on the head there. Making sure that you create people that are not only like power users, but also cheerleaders for the things that you're doing are a great thing because, we talked about being marketers last week. Think about the way marketing is done today, right? I mean, there is direct marketing companies telling us how good they are and how good their products are. But then there is influencers, and I kind of hate that word, but it's the world we live in. And these influencers are people that already have sway with their individual group of people in their circle, and then they tell someone that a product is good. So if you involve those people, each one of those people has a circle of influence. And if they get on board with thinking something is a good thing, then they are going to influence their circle with that same, that same direction, that same thought. So I really do think it pays dividends, and maybe I need to go back and listen to that marketing episode because it seems like that's tying in an awful lot in some of our most recent ones. All right, my last one, and honestly, I think yours was probably the best. For those that may not be aware, we kind of drafted these, so we made a big list and we got to kind of pick, and Anthony stole that one from me. So no, but I really am passionate about this one as well. So my number one, and we talked a little bit about it earlier. You kind of alluded to it when you talked about a vendor doing your training, but I'm thinking a little bit higher level, not doing enough training or one and done training. So not enough training, pretty self-explanatory. You need to be doing a lot of training, way more training than you think, because people pick up things at different rates. You can't just do one training, one and done training. And honestly, I've been guilty of this in the past, thinking we're just going to have everyone down for a day. We're going to spend like 8 hours just knocking it out. Well, not everyone can take 8 hours and really take in something. They need three 2 hour periods, or they need it in 50-minute blocks over the next 3 months. Or they're not good in a classroom setting and they prefer to watch a video or they prefer to read a manual. We have people that prefer to read manuals and they actually learn much better that way. So by saying not enough training, I'm basically saying not enough options. You need to have multiple options, multiple time periods, follow up, and kind of I mentioned going too fast. Don't go too fast with training. We talked about one and done. We had a big episode on training. I can't remember, Anthony. Maybe I don't know. It's been a little while back, but if you're really passionate about training, we did an awesome episode on kind of improving your training, and it kind of goes really along well with this episode. But that's my number one. Not having enough or not the right types or just doing a 1 day training with new things that you're rolling out. That's just going to be a recipe for it not working as well as you'd want it to be.
Tanner, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm just curious for your end user training. Obviously, as you roll out a product, you try to do training, but like, are you doing anything like on a regular occurrence for your end users as far as training?
We are not. That is something we want to start doing. But I would say one thing we've done really well is train people as they come in on some of the basics, and we've done that. In a we've done that with just in kind of a very singular way, and so I think there's still a lot of improvement there. But we've done an okay job of training new people when they come in, right? You got a new employee, they're coming in, they need all the training and all the different things that they're going to deal with. I think we have been a little short sighted with that as far as like we try to compact that too much. We want to train them in everything and then we don't go back and have additional trainings down the road. So I would say where we're probably the weakest is training existing employees or retraining because I even think of something we did recently, Copilot. We had a training with that. And we set up a Teams group to ask people how things are going and to get people to share ideas on how they're using it because we thought that would help. That would help people kind of take advantage of it when they saw how others were having really big wins. But I got to thinking, I'm like, if someone didn't really jump right into it after the trainings we gave, they might be a little bit nervous about jumping right into it now. Maybe we need to kind of have like a, hey, we know everybody's busy. If you didn't have time to jump right into it, maybe it was kind of a catch up or another option, another time for them to attend training. That is something that I think we've been a little weaker in is making sure that we're following up with the people who we hope already know the product, but we all know that if you don't use it every day or even like monthly, your knowledge of it is going to go down pretty quick.
So that's something we struggle with as well. We try to do quarterly brunch and learns, and honestly, we've done 2. There's no way we're making more by the end of the year. I guess we just need to make it more of a priority. We did a interview with Fleetus in an earlier session, and he talked about micro training. That's something we would love to do. It's just really hard to do with everything going on day to day. Matter of fact, we're probably so bad at it. Our HR, they're hiring a training coordinator. I don't know if that's strictly because of IT, but they're going to hire a position. And anyway, that's for the whole company. They'll teach all kinds of things, not just IT, but I'm hoping that'll help us out somewhat to make sure we're doing that more regularly. One thing we all know just because we deal with it as an IT, whether it's a security product or whatever, you get it up front, you get the training, and then you get the product. You really need the training like a year later or 6 months after you've been using the product to really get the most out of that training. But anyways, it's a hard thing to tackle, especially with small, medium businesses being such lean organizations.
Yeah, and I will say, and I know everything's kind of AI right now, but you can use AI really to your advantage to do those small micro trainings, those easy videos. For example, something I've done, there's a company called 11 Labs. You can recreate your own voice, or you can use one of their voices, but I recreated my own. And basically, then you can use OBS Studio to record your screen. You can type out what you need. You can actually get AI like Copilot or ChatGPT or Gemini to actually give you like a little tiny script. Like I need a 1 minute video about how to insert a chart into an Excel. Right. I mean, you probably would create the video for you, but even if it can't, give me the script for it. I can take that script, put it into the 11 Labs, generate that text, hit play, then record my screen and just move my mouse around. You can probably roll out. I mean, you could probably get a video done in 5 minutes. If you kind of knew what you were talking about. I mean, 5 minutes is not that long, and then you push it out. Or and once you make the video, you can reuse it. You can use it 6 months from now, or a year from now, or whatever. So we have started using that a little bit internally to make training generation a little quicker. And we do have a training coordinator, and that has been very useful. She's an awesome resource for us, and we are trying to do the same thing you're talking about, is trying to lean more on her because, like we mentioned, like training is an art form too. Like some people have it and some people don't, and and we're trying where we can to rely on the people that's the thing they do really well. All right, Anthony, any final thoughts? We got a top 5 list. I really enjoyed it. I thought there was some really good ones on there. Plenty of stuff for me to work on, and I'm sure some stuff for you guys to work on too.
Yeah, definitely. I guess final thoughts, I just think about this, just build upon your past successes and your failures. We've all had great rollouts, we've all had bad ones, and figure out what worked well. And like, so we're going through a big migration, which is kind of going in 2 parts. But the first part of that migration, we found that we could have included more people, and that was one of the pitfalls that we found. But we also found things that worked out really well. So like, this is something that impacts the whole company. Like, we would get basically like a point of contact for each major work group and have them as kind of like a liaison to communicate with the rest of their folks. So whatever that is, just like as you do projects and roll out new solutions, learn from your mistakes and also your successes, replicate them as you go forward.
Yeah, agree with that. I'm gonna throw a bonus one in. Rely on your community. If you have people in your same industry and they've done this project or rolled this project out before, connect with them and see where they ran into issues and learn from their mistakes. We always, you hear it as a child, right? Learn from others' mistakes, not yours. And sometimes You always think, that's full of it, but the more you can do that, the better it'll be for your rollouts.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Anthony enjoyed this episode, and I think it's something that we can work on, right? I like doing the episodes where we can share some information and also feels like we're kind of preaching to ourselves too. So both of us have some things to work on, and we're going to go and do that. And we hope this has been useful to the folks listening as well. If you're out there listening and you have a show idea or you just want to give us some feedback, please reach out to us at show at Off the Wire Podcast or reach out to us on social media. When we post something, we're great if there's a discussion on it. If you don't agree with us, put it out there. I mean, we like to hear the back and forth. But if you want to just reach out to us individually, we're happy to hear that as well. We drop episodes every other Monday. And until next time, this is Off the Wire.
Thank you, everyone.